one of the things we haven't done is an unboxing video. I know that doesn't work for audio, but maybe my excitement will come through on audio. Shall we do an unboxing video?
Yeah, and what I was thinking too is we should start off, and I realized this when I had to edit down the other one. Yeah. Start off with, this is the pre-show for Welcome to the Music. Greg Godovitz is going to be joining us shortly, but first, or something, you know what I mean?
That sounds good. Perfect. We'll just leave that. What you just did is great.
Yeah.
Unboxing number 1.
Aren't you going to start with
what
we just said?
You just said it. Welcome to the pre-show. This is the pre-show.
Okay, then let's start this again, okay?
Okay, you do it.
All right. Welcome to the pre-show. Greg Godovitz is going to be joining us shortly. But in the meantime,
you got 2 guys that are going to do an unboxing video.
An unboxing video?
for our audio podcast. I think this is the first time ever a podcast has attempted an unboxing video. So I don't know if you could hear me open it. Oh, I'm so happy that these guys put this record out. This is, let me take the plastic off so you can see it better.
Why do you get all the presents?
I purchased this. It's not a present.
The Great Seal of the Hallucination.
Yes.
Nice.
By a tribe called Red.
Yes.
4. It's a 2 vinyl package. So I am so looking forward to listening to this. This has to be, and I'm wearing a hat, by the way, as well.
You are. For all the listeners at home that can't see you pointing to your hat.
That's right. This is the one of the most emotional concerts I've been to. Not that the music made you cry, but just the setting. I went to see a Tribe Called Red a few summers ago in Banff, of all places, at the Banff Center. I don't know. I can't remember what that place is called. Banff Music Center, Banff, yeah, something like that. But you're sitting on the grounds, and right behind the stage are the Rockies. And so that was just an amazing concert.
Nice.
And I'm looking forward.
So you didn't get that given to you. You bought that.
I purchased this. And I purchased this next one too. Oh, this is heavy. Right. Look how thick that is.
That people at home on the podcast can't see how thick
they can't know. So Greg.
So Korean.
A number of years ago, Neil Young put out an album that for the life of me, I cannot get on vinyl. But he's been putting out a lot of live stuff, a lot of stuff from the vault. And he just put this for sale last month.
Wow.
This is Neil Young and Crazy Horse, way down in the rust bucket. And if you could see my tattoo, it matches the cover of the album. Look at that.
Yes, it does.
Look at that.
Again, people at home listening on the podcast, they cannot see that. But yes, I can confirm that it does match your tattoo.
Yeah, so way down in the rust bucket, live from the Catalyst, Santa Cruz, California, November 13th, 1990. 19 tracks, 3 blistering sets on 4 LPs. The first live performances of the Ragged Glory songs. So I've been looking for vinyl Ragged Glory for a few years.
Yeah.
And just you can't find it anywhere. And now he's released this box set that has the first live performances of that album. So I'm really excited. So I got this, and with this came high-res audio as well. So that got emailed to me. But I am so excited to...
high-res audio?
High res audio. Yeah, high resolution. It's
usually high bit rate. Resolution is more a visual thing, but okay.
Yeah.
Is it a video? No.
No, audio.
All right, cool.
There was a package where you can also get the audio as well.
You're not going to ask me about NFTs this week again, are you?
No, because you're I don't know. Did you study up on NFTs?
Nope. Still know nothing. So I know probably less today than I did a week ago today.
Did you? I know more today than I knew last week. I understand it more. And it makes sense. To me, it makes sense.
What you explained to me about the actual, like the merch and stuff like that makes less sense. Once you started going on about you get a hoodie and you get a hat and you get a limo ride and you get this and you get that, that to me made this NFT thing make even less sense, because I understood an NFT was a digital asset, not
yes. So we were talking
because a t-shirt is a disposable asset. I can buy a t-shirt, I wear it once, nobody wants to buy it from me again.
Mateo, he's yelling at me again. Okay.
He's pointing to his dog for all those people who are at home on the podcast, the audio podcast.
So we were talking about NFTs in general, but also specifically about what was the name of that band now? That released Kings of Leon. So the Kings of Leon were selling an NFT that came with a package of other things as well, which will probably entice people to buy the NFT. But if you think about NFTs in general, it just happens to be a digital product that is original. I want to use that word original, not unique, but original. So
it is the original. I covered all this off on last podcast last week.
Yes, but you were confused about what you were talking about.
Oh, I'm very confused about what I'm talking about, but I did cover. It's the original. It's not unique. It's not one of a kind. It's you have the original version of whatever that asset is.
Yes, whether that is.
How does that work with a T-shirt? You have you have like the first T-shirt off the printing and everyth's a copy thereof?
No, you're getting confused. You're mixing the two together.
No, you mixed the two together last week.
What the Kings of Leon did, I heard why you're just harping on T-shirts, because I didn't say T-shirts. But what the Kings of Leon wait, no.
Whoa.
Wait, let me finish. What the Kings of Leon did was you could buy a variety of different NFTs. I actually tried to buy one, but apparently Tangerine isn't an approved.
It went for $90,000.
No, I was going to buy an album for I think $50, $60, $70. And so what you would get. So as an example, one of their NFTs were selling for like hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what that was you got an NFT, yes, but you also got additional things as well. One of the things you got was 4 tickets over your lifetime to every single tour.
Yes.
So, for example, if I bought the NFT and I kept it for a couple of years and Kings of Leon went on one tour, I would get that. If you happen to buy it from me, those rights to those tickets now go to you.
Disposable asset.
Now go to you.
It's a consumable asset. Yep.
Yeah, right? But the NFT is there, plus anything that comes along with it. Now, that was just one of them.
This is very Willy Wonka, you realize.
If they also had NFTs like the digital album.
Why do you hold your hand out like this? Like,
because
you did this the other day. You're like,
and people are watching this on YouTube. People are watching us on YouTube.
But even people watching on YouTube aren't going, oh, yeah, that's an NFT in his hand.
NFT? Is that better? Do you want me to show you?
He's holding up his dog, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of dogs, I've got to let the dog out. I don't know why someone closed the door and let him in. I'll be right back. I think this is great. This is time for commercial.
And that's the pre-show.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery. the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find him at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
Hello, my name is Greg Godovitz. You might remember me from the bands Fludd and Goddo, or this fantastic poster that Long John Baldry did of me in 1978. And here I am. It's great to be on Welcome to the Music. Besides getting caricatures done, I also record many albums with my bands Fludd and Goddo. There's a few of them right there. And I am the author of my first book, Travels with My Amp, and the second book, which is out currently and why we're having these conversations, Up Close and Uncomfortable, much like Greg and Kareem are feeling right now. Welcome to the music.
Perfect. Welcome. I'm glad to have you here, Greg. I want to share with you one quick thing to kick it off. We like to talk about live music. You and I actually sort of shared a stage back early 90s. It was some bar, and I was asking my bandmates where it was. And one of them thought maybe on Birchmount. I don't think it's around anymore. It was like a bowling alley or a banquet hall. And we were opening up for Andy Kieran. All right. You were there and you jumped on stage with Andy that night. So
I'm just trying to think on Birchmount where it would have been. I mean, I know there's that famous the King's Head pub up there, but it looks like an English pub. But there might
this was south or Kennedy maybe or something.
Kennedy, yeah.
I don't know.
Because I still live in Scarborough. So, I mean, I'm almost like a walking roadmap for Scarborough. You too?
Absolutely.
All right, good.
We're trying to get Greg to move over.
Oh, to come over to,
I was
born and raised there. Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all Scarbarians. All right.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember. Andy Curran and I are great friends. Of course, a lot of people don't know this, but him and I wrote the theme music for TSN's That's Hockey, which has been on every hockey season for the last 20 odd years. Ka-ching, awesome. Ka-ching. I kept the publishing.
Good for you.
Smart man.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that story because it's something I always remember as a.
What was the name of the band?
We were called The Life.
The Life? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it would be in one of my diaries if it was still in the 90s. I was still keeping. That's how I wrote my books, is I kept diaries that were accurate, so I knew what I was doing every day.
Yeah. It would have been like 92, 93 kind of thing. Anyway.
You don't look that old.
Oh, well, thanks. I'll take that.
I do. I look that old.
I want to say a happy early birthday to you, Greg. I don't know if we can say how old you're turning, or.
Oh, I'll say it. I'm going to be 70 wonderful years old on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So, first of all, anybody that's read my book, the first one, they always say the same thing. They go, "It's incredible that you're still alive." Because, my hobbies back in the touring days were, I had two big ones. Riding around on the tops of cars that were doing 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And jumping from balcony to balcony 30 floors up in hotels.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, now I won't even get on a step ladder. The bumper cars at the exhibition, too rough for me as well. But I mean, I should have bought the farm like a dozen times easily.
Wow.
And I guess there's I still have my work left to do, or else they would have taken me away by now.
Are you? How are you celebrating this Saturday?
Well, apparently we're going to have a Zoom birthday party. I can hardly wait to reach out and get my gifts right through cyberspace. Oh, look what they bought me to drink that they're drinking over there. We're going to go out for dinner. There's a place. It's not like we're going to another area. We're not area hopping, although we are. But my favorite restaurant in Canada is called Casa Verde. It's out in Pickering Village. And we're going to go there for dinner because I must have eaten there 100 times over the years. And we don't even order anymore. We just go in, and Roberto keeps it coming until I raise a little white flag and surrender. And then that's the end of the dinner. But the food is Southern Italian, and it's incredible. So we're going to go there for dinner with the kids, my kids and the grandkids. And
Awesome.
hopefully, they won't make me pay for dinner for a change.
Again, yeah.
Again, yes.
Yeah. Or maybe they will now that they know you've been cashing all this TSN money for the past 20 years.
Yeah, so it's long gone, trust me. Yeah.
So what are you opening? Because I know you're a big wine guy. I'm in the wine business. What are you opening?
Are you? Oh,
yeah.
Probably an Amarone that night, nice. I would think. I mean, that's it's either that or a Barolo, especially in this restaurant because they have a good selection of Italian. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So it'll definitely be an Italian, or we might just let Roberto pick one out.
Yeah, nice. I have something for you that I think you're going to like, and it's a shameless plug.
Yes, I like those.
Our company is launching the first national fine wine auction starting next Tuesday. So a day after this airs. Mm-hmm. This is the plug too. That goes hopefully. Anyway. But yeah, no, we're launching an auction, and it's everything from DRC to Harlan out of California. So.
Well, we'll have to talk further about that off the air because I'd be interested in seeing that. I'm in the dining room in our house here at Bossy and Braggy Manor, we call it. And up there, over the windows, there are, there's 12 different wine bottles that start with a 50-year-old vintage port that we actually cracked when I was writing the second book. I met Neil Young's sister, Astrid, and she's a wine sommelier working in Prince Edward County. And she'd been over here for dinner, and she says, if you ever open that one, I want to be there when you open it. So I took it down there and we drank it. But I've got like vintage Chateau Lafite Rothschilds up there. And I wish I had have known that this was going to happen because I would have brought a couple of them down. But a very rich guy came over to our house one day for a barbecue, and all of these wines were in a case. So he says, here you go for the barbecue. And, I got my friends there, and I pull out like a Pomard from like the 50s or something. Nice. And I went, there's no way I'm serving this to my friends. So we opened one of them so he would enjoy it,
Yeah.
And the rest of them I just put in the wine cellar, and we still have a few of them left. But we did some research, and the wines started in about the $600 or $700 level, and they went up. They went up from there. So I'd never tasted anything like that,
It's funny you mentioned about Lafite because we ran the TSO charity wine auction. I know this is a music podcast, but anyway.
And music and wine are life.
Oh, okay. Totally. Yes, yeah. And we ran the TSO charity wine auction, and we sold an 1869 Lafite.
Wow. What did that go for?
I think like 30, 35, something like that.
Yeah. I've got a picture from the Willow Park. This is the other reason why I'm giving you an hour, because we're going to talk for 40 minutes on wine now and then 20 minutes on music. The Willow Park Winery in Calgary is the best wine store I've ever seen in my life. And they have a bottle there that is $19,999.99. And I said, do you actually give the penny back when somebody buys a bottle? I said, so what kind of guys buy? Do you sell these? He goes, yeah, we sell about 6 bottles a year. And I said, to who? He goes, it's usually some oil baron that's trying to impress a young chick. I said, dude, you could get the best, most expensive, most beautiful call girl in the world for a couple $1,000 and a bottle of, Plonk. And it's going to be a happy ending. I mean, why would you spend $20,000 on a bottle of wine? I think I would even take a shot at going gay if I could drink some of that wine.
Oh my!
Sure.
You're making me thirsty here, Greg. I got to tell you, man.
Sorry. Yeah.
So speaking of, people asking you or being in wonder and amazement that you're still alive, I'm almost shocked that you're still alive after the hell you went through as a scout.
Okay. Well, okay. So he's referring. I've got a story in my new book called "The Sinister Scoutmaster."
You have a couple of stories in there, and before you go, the reason I say that is because on Mondays I lead a cub pack. So.
Well, you look relatively safe, but if you
Thank you.
read the story about this guy,
yeah,
an actual human, an actual guy.
That's
I would
crazy.
say he was a human being. That all that stuff happened, and just to give the folks at home a Reader's Digest thing. When I was 11 or 12, we went to scout camp with this maniac.
Yeah,
maniac is the only word. Where he would do things like he would get us to make spears that were pointed, and then he'd come out in a loincloth and throw a spear. Like when the Zulus do it in the movie called The Naked Prey, and Cornell Wilde is the guy they've captured, they give him a little flask of water and say, when you get to the spear, keep running because you don't want us to catch you. And this guy was the same way. He thought nothing of throwing a spear. It would land somewhere in your body, knocking you over, and then he would drag you off and hang you upside down and light a fire underneath you. And then he would poke you with this. I mean, he was like, you could make Stephen King couldn't come up with this stuff. It's like that movie, where the four kids go looking for the body down the Stand By Me.
Yeah, Stand By Me. Yeah.
Somebody could make a movie out of the adventures in this one story.
That is nuts. Because I've been to that Scout Reserve numerous times and always have a blast there. And as I was reading that particular chapter, I was just howling.
Well, most people do. My older brother, Ted, read it, and he said, why didn't you tell Dad about this guy? I said, because we said, he's sort of crazy for an adult. Let's not tell, and then we can keep going away with him, What happened was at the end of this, I shouldn't give the end of the story. No, they're going to have to buy the book. They're going to have to go to shop Greg Godovitz. This is always backwards. Right there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Shop GregGodovitz.com, and then you can find out the ending of this horrendous story.
Yeah.
How's that for a shameless plug?
You did make it out alive. That's number one. So we know that.
Oh, no, I did die, but I got better.
You got better. That is great. So you never decided that you wanted to be a scout leader and inflict some pain on other unknowing kids?
No. I became a band leader and had roadies to do that too. So used to poke them with microphone stands,
That is hilarious. I want to ask you this because Greg does this as well. Greg, didn't have obviously the lengthy musical career that you did, but Greg comes out of it being like an amazing chef. And in your book, you talk about the different dishes you make, and you even have like a recipe. I think it's one of the chapters. You have like a recipe there, and I was thinking of reading like a Beastie Boys book, because in their book they got a bunch of stuff out of nowhere there. So tell me about you and the kitchen. How did that come about?
Well, we're always posting pictures of food and stuff. I mean, Mrs. Claypool, my gal, she's great. She's in the kitchen every day making something, and I'm pretty good myself, but I defer to the expert, and she does a lot of the cooking. But even going to restaurants, like we're big on supporting local business. Mm-hmm. And, if we eat in a restaurant or we find a new hamburger joint, especially in Scarborough, we're the first to take pictures of it and let people know. So for years, people have been saying you should clearly also write a cookbook. But if you get around to really reading those recipes, it's sort of like this. You've got a list of the ingredients, and then number one, crack an egg in a bowl with a whisk. Number two, add some anchovies chopped up finely and garlic. Number three, see that bottle of wine over there that you're keeping for the company? Go ahead, open it up and have a little taste. So what happens is if you follow my recipe, you'll be completely snap drunk by the time you finish making the meal. So once again, it's, finding humor where there shouldn't be any. And, I've been really fortunate in the fact that Travels with My Amp had people laughing out loud while they were reading it. It was sort of inadvertent that happened. I just happened to, the way I write things comes across where you can read it and go, they start laughing and the wife will go, what is this idiot doing now? And then the husband tells. But this one, I intentionally wrote it to be a humor book, which is why it wasn't just about more music stuff. Initially, I'd written 150 pages of part 2 of Travels with My Amp. And then I realized after a few months, it was just more of the same, So I thought, no, I'm going to start again and write a few stories about my childhood, because I didn't have anything about my childhood in Travels, except for the fact that I was 13 when I started playing. But I went immediately from playing guns in the park with my friends to being in a rock band playing on Yonge Street at 1:00 in the morning when I was 14 years old, So wow. I didn't have much of a childhood, thank God. I wanted to write about other things, and the next book will be even more the same.
You talk about one of the things I really enjoyed was the rules to writing a book, and the 3 that I loved was, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
There was drinking lots of booze, which you and I have both shared already in this podcast. So.
Good way to write.
And swearing, using profanity. And I thought, I'm reading that and going, that's life.
Well, it is. I mean, the way I write, I think anybody that reads this stuff, they can relate to, it's like, Kareem going to camp and stuff. Anybody that's been there is going to know that there was somebody else that was nutty that was in their orbit, And I'm sure there's tons of guys that are righteous dudes out there doing that. We just happened to find the one guy.
The one crazy guy.
The one guy that was completely, a socio-psychopath, Yeah. And then we never heard from him again. He sort of disappeared and went to another troop somewhere, I mean, he was just a really crazy dude, man. And it's funny because I've had a couple of people that read the book and said, we had that guy too.
Yeah. What, do you happen to remember the name of your scout troop?
I don't. We were in a church, St. Bede's, just up the street from where my mom lived.
Okay.
I remember his full name, but I didn't write it in the book. I mean, I'm sure his real name wasn't Skip,
No.
I mean, I happen to know Skip Prokop's name was Larry, So whether or not this Skip's name was Larry, I don't know, but I'm sure it wasn't that,
Yeah, we had a good Skip.
But my Cub Scout guys were good. They were good guys, but then all of a sudden, we learned all our reef knots and everything. It was time to go away to camp. So let's send the kids out there. I'll tell you something. If I was ever on Survivor, I would win hands down.
For sure.
Oh, totally. If you could survive 2 weeks in the bush with this guy, you could.
I wanted to ask you, you talked about that restaurant in Pickering. One of the things that I like to do is, go to different Scarborough places. Is there a Scarborough restaurant that you've recently discovered that everybody needs to know about?
Well, there's all sorts of them in Scarborough. My gal, she compiled a list of about 300 very ethnic kind of places where people could go and have a good lunch or dinner or whatever. There's a Japanese restaurant on Eglinton Avenue East where Brimley and Danforth and Eglinton all meet, where the Nob Hill Hotel used to be, which they now torn down. But these guys moved in about 5 years ago. It's called Nakamori Japanese. And that's quickly becoming a favorite go-to for us because this guy, he was taught by the Iron Chefs in Tokyo. Nobu, his name is. We become great friends with him and his family. I even had, the first week I met them, I had them over here and I made them a turkey dinner. which is also what I did with the guys from Casa Verde. The first weekend I met them, I said, "What do you guys do on Sunday?" They said, "Well, we order pizza." I said, "Not this Sunday. Bring your family. You're coming to my place. I'm going to make you full turkey dinner."
Nice.
I wanted to go back to, we were talking about kids and not necessarily about scouts, but one of the stories that I loved in the book was the bonding experience with your son and Nikki Six.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, I was working for Randall. I was working with Randall Amplifiers back in the day. So part of my job was to go when our endorsees were in town. And I took my son to Maple Leaf Gardens, and Motley Crue were playing. And we went out and sat in the front row during their sound check. And of course, they took umbrage with, like, who's this old man and his kid sitting in the front row? So they basically came and had us removed, which I thought was just a really amateur shot. And but afterwards, the two girls, the harlots or whatever they called themselves, were doing a photo shoot for Rolling Stone. And they came up to me and said, "Can we have your son in the photograph with us?" I said, "Well, I'm going to have to be there, for it, make sure everything's cool, And it was innocent enough. I mean, it was these two hot LA babes, using my 4-year-old, or 4 at the time, who, was a very, very good looking child. So then they invited us for dinner, and we're sitting there, and Nikki Six comes in and sits down, and he goes, "Well, hey, little guy, I'm Nikki Six." And my son goes, "I'm Niall, I'm 4. And of course, everybody burst out laughing. And I could see that Nikki was a little bit, the fact that, so I'm like doing this, like to keep from laughing out. So Nikki recovers. He says to him, "So, hey, little guy, you going to be a big rock star like Nikki Six?" When Niall doesn't even look up, he goes, "Nah, I'm going to be a baseball player." So, I watched my kid get this guy twice. It was classic.
Yeah. That was an awesome story. I love that.
That was hilarious.
And true.
Okay, so you got to tell me this. You are a UFO. What is it? A believer. You believe in UFOs.
Oh yeah.
In aliens. So my question is, and I know it's on the cover of your book as well. Mm-hmm. Why are you so sure of this?
Well, I've seen more UFOs than any human being I know. The guys at MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network, I go to all their conferences and stuff, and I've met all those guys that you see on television. The talking head experts on the subject. I know most of them. Nick Pope and Grant Cameron and the other names are escaping me right now, but I've talked to all of them. They say that I'm a UFO magnet, that they just, for some reason, they always seem to be around where I'm at. And not only that, but and the story's in the book, I sat beside someone that wasn't from around here on an airplane one night.
So that's not just a funny story. That actually happened.
All of the stuff that I wrote in that story actually happened. I mean, one of the first great ones I saw was coming back from the Bahamas, and my wife at the time looked out the window of the plane and she said, "Greg, what is that?" And I looked out, and sitting on those beautiful white fluffy clouds was this cylindrical object that was pointed at one end and circular at the other end. There was no lights, there was no vapor trail. It looked like it was enveloped in like a smoky gray mist. And it was just sitting there, but it was the size, not being able to really ascertain how far it was away. It was about the size of a good sized battleship, and it was just sitting on the clouds.
Huge. Yeah.
So I, ding, 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 and called the stewardess over, when we used to call them that. And I said, "What's that?" And she went, "Holy shit." And she went instantly running up to the front of to tell the crew what was going on. Now we looked out and we watched it until it was out of sight. So it wasn't moving. It was just hovering there. And we were moving. But the funny thing was, there wasn't a big uproar on our side of the plane. I don't know if people were sleeping or if they had their windows shut or what it was, but it only seemed to be like the two of us that could see it, and now this woman. And then she goes walking by. Now it's out of sight because we've waited long enough that, we've done our bit and it's still sitting way back there. So ding, 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 I call her over. I said, so what was it? And she goes, so typically, what was what, sir?
What?
And I said, oh, come on. I said, you saw that as well as we did. And you went up and told the crew about it. I said, now keep in mind, this is many years before 9/11, when you could almost get away with saying this. And I said, lady, if I had a gun, we'd be on our way to have a look at it right now. And she says, don't even say that on this plane. When we arrive in Toronto, pilot comes on and he says, we'd like you all to stay in your seats. We have another crew coming on that will help you get it. So they took the entire flight crew that was on our flight off the plane. Now, where do you think they went?
Huh.
They went for a debriefing, right?
Yeah, debriefing. Yeah.
And then they brought another crew on. And when I went out to the counter and I said, so do you want to tell me what was going on? She said, we have no idea what you're talking about. And yet,
that is nuts.
Yeah. And yet this thing was absolute. I mean, it's bigger than any ship I've ever seen. And it's just, floating there. But I see them all the time. I've seen them in Egypt over the pyramids. I've seen them in the Bahamas. I've seen them coming down from Markham once. About 2 months ago, I have a story in my new book about it. The kid across the road from where I live, he says, did you hear that in the sky last night? I said, no. And he tried to explain it to me, what he'd heard. And the next night I went out for a smoke and I hear this huge clanking sound, like it was clank, clank, and it was moving. So he comes running out. He goes, that's what I heard last night. So I went over to his house and we're standing there and you could audibly hear this thing clanking down the street, but there was nothing in the sky. There was no rumble from the sound we were hearing. And then it went south and then it went west and then it came up the other way and all of a sudden it jumped behind us so that we could hear it bouncing off the apartment buildings about 4 blocks the other way. Now, I called my guys at MUFON and they said, of course you heard it. They follow you around.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I've done all the UFO shows. I've seen people that are watching and they go, this guy's completely out of his mind. It's not true. I'm not. I mean,
It's interesting. You write in the book, because I think it's in the book, or I read somewhere where you were talking about it. Like over this past year, with everybody focused on COVID-19, like didn't the U.S. government release?
Yes,
they did, right? I thought that was true.
Yes, the Pentagon and NASA came forward with they call it the Tic Tac, and in 2014, the Nimitz aircraft group, the carrier, they were doing maneuvers. And all of a sudden, the radar guys got wind of the fact that there was these tic-tac shaped things that were defying everything we know about physics and aerodynamics and everything. So they scrambled a couple of F-18s up, a couple of Hornets went up, and this story was on the front page of the New York Times. That they've agreed that whatever these things are, we don't know what they are. They're not from around here. But was it the shot heard around the world? It was not. It was on the front page of the Washington Post. I mean, these are 2 big-time newspapers that are going, UFOs are real. We don't know why they're here. We don't know. All we know is that. And then they were on some of these television shows where they interview these pilots saying, all we know for sure is if we had to do any sort of like take them out, it's not going to happen. They can accelerate from 0 to 60,000 miles an hour in a wink of an eye. So, we can't do that. So they've been here for millions of years. I mean, not just since Roswell in 1947. These things have been coming here forever. My thought on what our planet is we're nothing but a petri dish. And they've been making things grow here and genetically altering things DNA-wise since the beginning of time. They could have been responsible for dumping dinosaurs down here. And then when that little scientific experiment didn't work out, well, just lob a meteor at us. That should take care of them all. We can start again. I mean, and I know to some people this sounds absolutely crazy, but until you've actually seen them, and most people don't.
Yeah.
I'm just one of the lucky guys that all of a sudden, I'll be, I'm walking down the beach in Cabarete, Dominican Republic, and some guy says, "Hey, do you want to see something unusual?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Look." And I look up, and in this cloudless, perfectly blue sky, there is something hovering way up in the sky over top of us. And my daughter was with me. She could see it. Her girlfriend couldn't. A lot of the people kept coming over and going, "What are you guys looking at?" Some of them could see it. The guys on the beach that sell the baubles, they were freaking in Spanish because they could all see it.
Wow.
And it was just, but here's a stranger on the beach comes up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to see something unusual?" I never saw him again. I mean, it was weird.
That's crazy. So I'm gonna try to segue this back into music. Into music. I am. So going from planes, being on planes and seeing UFOs. One of the things that I love is a poster that you shared from Barrymore's.
Yeah.
That had U2. There's my segue. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give me that one. Right? It had U2. You're with Goddo. It had Doug and the Slug. Like it had
Rheingold
of bands.
Rheingold was on there. They played
Rheingold.
the night, which is Larry Gowan's band, and countless other bands that played within. It was the month of March for whatever year that was, 1980 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and it was like $5 to see us. It was like $6.50 to see U2, and I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but where I was going to go with that is, I mean, to me, Barrymore's, and I know we're going to get to sort of a lost venue discussion, but knock on wood, Barrymore's and other venues make it through what we're going through right now. But to me, I love Barrymore's is one of my favorite venues I've ever played. I just love that room.
Yeah, incredible. First of all, Barrymore started life out as it was a strip club. It was called Pandora's Box, and before that, it was probably a vaudeville theater. So for people that have never been there, it's right downtown in Ottawa. There's 3 levels to it. You got your punter level right in the front where the stage is and everything, and then another group up, and then a balcony area. I remember when we played there once. The dressing room was right up at the top, so I remember standing out in front of the dressing room where you could see the whole theater, and I got my guitar tech beside me, and I say to him, I said, "Hey, who's that guy on stage by my guitars?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Isn't it your job to be looking after my guitars?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "You'll notice that guy's picking up my guitar right now and going out the back door." And they went down, they never got it back. It was 10 minutes to showtime, and he stole my Ovation 12-string. And it went right out the back door. We never saw it again. But anyway, Barrymore's is no longer there, which is a tragedy because it's a great place. Here's a poster for you. These are also available.
Yes, that's in your book as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when we played in 1978 at Minkler Auditorium, and our special guest star, the Guess Who. Now, this wasn't the Guess Who with Burton Cummings because he'd left, nor Randy, but Jimmy Cale. Jimmy Cale was there, and Gary Peterson, and a guy named I always know his name, but I've just forgotten it. Great singer, sounded just like Burton. They were doing the Burton Cummings, the Guess Who hits, and they'd obviously dropped quite a bit to end up as an opening act, but we all did it. Everybody goes up and down and up and down. But I remember Jimmy Cale, who's been a friend of mine for forever since those days. He came up to me and I said, "Jimmy, I got to tell you, I feel really weird about this, And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "It's okay, Greg. This is your 15 minutes of fame. Enjoy it." And we're still friends. We just talked at Christmas. We talked at Christmas. I mean, every time I go to Winnipeg, he comes out of isolation and comes to the Fort Garry Hotel Rotunda bar. And he tells me, he says, "You're the only guy I would leave my house for." He says, "Because I know we're going to spend the next 2 hours tearing the crap out of Burton." And that's what we do.
In jest, though.
No.
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 Can we talk about that?
No.
Okay.
They could buy the book and read a story called Lenny's Lost Wallet. All will be explained.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Without getting sued.
Fair enough. I remember performing in the Minkler Auditorium with my grade 5, or was it grade 7 choir, singing Fame. That's the only song I remember singing at that one particular concert.
It's a great sounding room. It must have sounded lovely.
I hope so. I can't remember. I just remember yelling at the end of the song, Fame! That's all I remember, and everybody looking up at me.
My first public performance was my dad took me to the Ringling Brothers circus at Maple Leaf Gardens, and this clown came over and said, "Can we borrow your kid for a bit we're doing?" And of course, who doesn't trust clowns? So my dad says, "Take him." And what it was they had a Volkswagen that they'd soaped up all the windows, and now me and about 20 other kids were being backstage put like sardines inside this Volkswagen, right? So we drive out, the clown drives us out, the door opens, he starts bringing out kids one at a time. Now they'd taken away all the seats inside, so you couldn't really see how they did it. It was a great gag. So the kids come out, and at one point I get pulled out, and they all go nuts, and you get your applause. And I went, this is, the lights are coming down, and I went, this is show business, And then the clown goes to shut the door, and he goes, and he goes back in and pulls a full-grown live goat that was in the vehicle with the clown and 20 little kids, including myself, and a goat. And that was my entry into show business.
And you got hooked.
I was hooked instantly. The hot goat chicks, the smell of the roar of the sawdust.
You talked about Barry Morris in Ottawa. I'm wondering, Georg, is there another venue that unfortunately is not around anymore that holds a special place in your heart?
Countless, but I'm going to go with the Gasworks on Yonge Street. I mean, when we got Goddo together, we couldn't get a gig there. No, you guys are nobody. Nobody knows who you are. And then we get, after the first month we were together, we get a gig opening up at Massey Hall for Golden Earring. And the next day on the 6 o'clock Rock Report and in the newspapers, all they talked about was us. So now all of a sudden, we're good enough to play the Gasworks. And we get there on the first Monday night of a week-long stand, and it's lined up down the street. So instant acceptance for the band, even though we only had like 16 songs or something, But I remember one night, we're playing, and this famous girl about town, I think they're called groupies, shows up in the front row in front of the stage trying to get my attention. And we stopped the song, and I said, "How can I help you?" She goes, "I've got Rick Nielsen and Robin Zander in a limousine out front. They won't let them in." So I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back." And I go and I get them in. "How you doing? Nice to meet you." And they come in, and I said to them, "Do you guys want to sit in?" And they both looked at each other and went, "Yeah." I said, "What do you want to play?" And Robin said, "I'll do sound." And Rick says, "I'll do lights." And they did for the rest of the night. They didn't play music with us. They just did sound and lights. And I just thought that was the super coolest thing. I think I have a picture of Rick in the new book holding my book upside down, or holding this one upside down. I said, "Oh, what a kidder," But yeah, it was nice. We had a lot of instances like that. Black Sabbath came to see us there every night for a week.
Wow.
And Ozzy kept asking me, "Do you want to go back and have a drink and, whatever at the hotel?" And I said, I just kept putting him off, So finally on Saturday, he comes out to me, he says, "Don't you like me?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I like you just fine." I said, I'm picking up girls and things. I don't want to talk to you, So he says, I said, I'll tell you what, we'll come back for a drink at your place tonight. So Bob Segarini and I go back to whatever hotel they were staying at just up the street from the gasworks. And, they got a glass top table, you know what that means, and we're getting all this business done and talking rock and roll and stuff. And Segarini has to tie his shoelace, and he stands up and he's got a stubby beer bottle under his armpit, which falls and goes right through the glass top table. And Ozzy instantly becomes the Ozzy. He goes, they're going to think I did that. They're going to make me pay for that. They're going to think. Now, there was nothing left to do on the glass top table anyway, so we just said our goodbyes and we left. and Ozzy had to pay for the
table.
The table.
My favorite gasworks story is it was Anvil.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to remember if either Steve or Rob knew this guy or not, but he seemed to be sort of with the band. And it was like the intermission. You might even know, I don't know. And this guy, part of the show was he would drink a pitcher of beer through his one nostril.
Oh, no, I would remember him.
Yeah, it was just, I guess, I guess this was part of Anvil's intermission.
I knew a guy there that could inhale a cigarette and have it come out of his ears.
Really?
Yeah, that was strange to see. And I'm the guy, I don't know, have you ever heard of Souvlaki Bill?
No.
Bill is still alive. He was the notorious Greek manager of the gasworks. And I'm the one, he would make, when he wasn't beating people up with his cane and throwing them out, he made souvlakis in the kitchen. So I started calling him Souvlaki Bill. And that name became famous. Everybody called him Souvlaki Bill.
Souvlaki Bill.
Yeah. And I used to stop in the middle of Under My Hat hold the long note, and then I'd come back with it. I'll keep it under my, and then we go into it. But I would stop it and I'd point and I go, Souvlaki Bill is fat. And then we'd go into the song. and he just to this day, he called me today, but I couldn't pick up because I was doing something else. But we became great lifelong friends, and he's got to be in his 80s now, easily, But what a character and a legendary guy in the Toronto music scene.
The Gasworks, that was on Yonge Street, right?
Yeah, and of course, Mike Myers immortalized it in Wayne's World.
Yep.
Because he, every night's a babe fest, man. I mean, it was a rock and roll bar. I mean,
yeah.
I was involved. I got a call. I was in the bath one day, and I get a call from Sebastian Bach the week that he was on the cover of Rolling Stone. Hey, Greg, that voice he's got, Sebastian, man, we got to save the gasworks, man. I said, well, I know we're not going to save the gasworks, but the guys on the front, I am certainly not one to pass up some, shameless self-promotion. I know this is going to make the newspapers. I'm in. So we organized getting Triumph and Anvil and Coney Hatch, and all these guys are going to Helix. Everybody's coming down. And Sebastian wants to sit in with Goddo and a couple of other people. Great. So the night before the show, we have a dress rehearsal. And we're getting ready to go on. Everything's running like clockwork. We're timing it, making sure, because some of us are professionals. And he's not there. So I call up his wife, Maria, and I said, where's Sebastian? Oh, he's sleeping. I said, please put him on the phone right now. And I'm at a phone booth, right? We didn't have cell phones. And he goes, hey, man. And I said, listen, rock star. And I can't say, I was swearing at, just get your ass down here now, man. Like screaming at him. We go on stage. He's supposed to sing Cock On with us. And we do the Tough Times bit. And we slam into Cock On. And all of a sudden I see the front door of the gasworks open. And he comes running in like full steam and jumps on stage and makes his mark just where the vocal's supposed to come in. And then he sheepishly looks over at me like this, and I went, okay. Nobody, if you know Sebastian, nobody would talk to him like that, but he had such respect, for us first generation guys that he just came down fast, And we're still great friends to this day.
Whatever happened to him? He sort of disappeared for a while.
Oh no, he does very well. When I was living in Calgary, I went a couple of times to see him at the one of the casinos. And people can say, "Oh, casinos! What are you kidding?" Casinos are the best paying gigs around because they want to get, especially with the classic rock bands, they want to get you in there because your fans are not the kind of people that have a joint and go home. They want 10 drinks and gamble all night.
Yeah.
So I loved it when we finally got onto the casino circuit because, first of all, you play for like 40 minutes. They pay you 10 times the amount of money that you ever made back in the old days. And then you could go and gamble and blow it all after the show.
He had one of the best rock voices. I just loved his voice.
Well, what's funny is I was there with the girl and we watched a few songs and I said, "I'm hungry. Let's go get something to eat." Then he got them to put on the lights in the hall and say, "Greg Godovitz is here. We want to get him up." And I'm in the restaurant eating. Well, he's going, "Greg, where are you, man? Somebody go find him." Later I told him I had a seniors moment. I had to go to the washroom. So, Sebastian, so if you're watching and, sorry.
Can you talk to us about what's going on in your involvement with the Alma Combo?
I was hired along with Eddie Kramer, the famous record engineer that did all the Hendrix albums and built Electric Lady Studios in New York. The guy that had bought the Alma Combo hired me to be a curator for memorabilia. They'd had a guy doing my job for a year that found nothing. And then I got the job and knew exactly who to phone. Pretty soon I've got 40 of those hand-painted, cards, this week Blondie, this week The Cars, this week David Johansen, this week Seals and Crofts. I found 40 of them. Some of them were autographed. And then I knew waitresses that worked there and they had table cards announcing who was coming. They had ticket stubs. We had old band T-shirts. I found all this stuff. Had it museum quality framed. Eddie was building, him and John Stork from New York that had built Electric Lady were building the studio in there. And then everything went sideways and the wheels fell off. And in June of 2018, I said, "I quit." And 2 weeks later, Eddie said, "I too quit." And Eddie and I are still great friends and we're planning on doing some work together. But the two of us left.
Okay.
I didn't even want, I started to write about it in this book. And then I thought, I'm going to save it for the next book, the whole story of what went on there. And it's a killer. It's a killer story.
Is Eddie still in Toronto?
No, he actually moved out to Prince Edward County. Mrs. Claypool had found me a house out there. I could never write at home. So I would always borrow some rich guy's place in the country in Canmore under the Rocky Mountains for a month or two. And then some palace down in the Dominican, And then I thought, I got to finish this book, but I can't finish it at home because there's too many distractions, So she found me this fantastic house that was a couple 100 years old. It was a heritage home. And I moved in there. And Eddie and his lovely wife, AJ, came down to visit. And when I finished, we would go to the wineries and stuff. I'm sure Greg knows about all the great wines down there. And then they eventually said, "We're leaving Toronto," and they took over.
Oh, wow.
So it's great. So instead of me paying the rent now and them coming and mooching, now they pay the rent and I go and mooch.
So. Perfect. So you mentioned about the third book, the trilogy. I don't know whether it'll be the final of the trilogy or if there'll be more afterwards. But, one thing I love about the books is just so full of so many great stories about live shows or shows, not even just live shows, just the story behind a show. Can you share maybe one of the stories that's going to be coming up in the new book?
Well, I haven't really written anything story-wise so far. What I've been writing about is what we've been going through for the last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm howling with laughter in my little office writing, and Mrs. Claypool comes in and she goes, "What are you laughing at?" So I'll show her and she goes, only you can find humor, like ridiculously funny humor in what we're going through. But then I've got other stories that are coming back in my mind about, like, for instance, I played in a band that had a residency at a place called Blues on Bel Air every Tuesday. And the only night I ever took Tuesday off, Prince showed up and played with my band all night.
Oh,
And it's a great story, and that's as much as I'll give away of it.
Yeah.
So that story is going to go in. There's also, the first night I went to Eddie and AJ's place for dinner, I said, well, my friends in our circle of friends call me the candle fairy. So I'll go light the candles and I'll pour the Prosecco, And there was these beautiful crystal goblets on the table. And within 1 minute, you heard this tinkling sound and me going, oh no. And I'd smashed one of these priceless crystal goblets. And I hear low moaning. I couldn't tell if it was Eddie or AJ in the kitchen. And I tried to blame it on Mrs. Claypool, but they knew I did it. As it turns out, finally, is that somebody in your house?
Oh, it's a war zone here. I've got teenagers.
I think that's Mrs. Claypool saying, whatever you do, don't tell this story.
I thought it was coming from your end. It's like, shh.
That's what it sounds.
You do.
Okay. All I'm going to say about this, because I talked to them the other day, and they're giving me permission to write this story. Eddie had worked on a very famous album with a really super famous rock thing, okay? And it was a gift from this rock star to the Kramers, and I just broke the set, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's a bad story.
Yeah. Wow.
So when they came over, I had some tall champagne flutes that were all different colors. They were hand-blown crystal. They were phenomenal. And I came out and gave Eddie one and said, go ahead. But he was far too much a gentleman to do it,
Nice.
So those are the kind of things that will be going in. I realized that I wrote nothing about the 8 years I spent in Calgary, like just little bits of what I was doing out there. I was producing artists out there. I was playing with some great, one night I had a jam session and Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong came to see me, ended up jamming with me for 2 hours. One of the guys in the Stampeders. I mean, we had some good times out there. Paul Dean would come down every Sunday and play all night with me. Paul and I Paul produced this album, Amuse Me, also available at Shop Greg Godovitz. And we had a lot of adventures there. So I didn't write anything about the 8 years in Calgary or the 5 years returning to Toronto and like working on the Elmo project and stuff. So I got a lot to write about. But I also at the same time realized I'm writing a trilogy here, basically. It's a 3-part book. So I've entitled this book, and I'm going to keep this title. I don't care who knows. The book is called The Idiot's Trilogy, Part 4.
Makes sense to me.
Perfect. So, Greg, one of the things we like to ask our guests before we finish up is, what are you listening to lately? What's in your earbuds?
There's an artist out of New York that was the soundtrack of me writing this book. I got a copy of his album called Cornerstone. His name is Richard X. Heyman, Heyman. And his CD got stuck in my computer. So for 14 months, all I listened to was his album over and over and over and over. It became my favorite album of all time. Anyway, I did a little research, and he's still in New York City. He still looks like Todd Rundgren from the Nas days when he was, that perfect Beatle haircut. He's looking up the guy already. Now Richard's got about 6 albums, and we've become friends. I sent him Travels with My Amp. Him and his wife Nancy loved it. I sent them the galley copy of Up Close. They really loved it, and we become great friends who probably will never really get to meet each other in person, but I hope we do. I want to do some music with this guy, but he's probably the one that I would listen to the most these days. I like the old classic songs. You give me anything from the British invasion, I'm in. I hear one of those Jerry and the Pacemaker songs come on the radio, or that beautiful drum salvo at the beginning of She Loves You, I'm cranking the thing up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other bands. I love Crowded House. What we did was this computer that I'm on right now that Mrs. Claypool bought, we took, I think, almost 2,000 CDs from our combined collections and loaded them into the computer in different sections. So all the British invasion stuff is in one section, all the blues stuff is in another, the classical stuff is in another. We have anything involving animals singing, like kittens singing Christmas carols. That's way over there somewhere in the section. But we put them on random sometimes. Like nighttime, if we're having Italian food, we put on Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett and Andrea Bocelli, and they just rotate around, So we have pretty eclectic tastes in this house. I love sitar music. I actually have a sitar downstairs in the basement from the same place where Ravi Shankar and George Harrison got theirs in New Delhi. So it's like a Stradivarius of sitars,
That's amazing. Greg, I would love once everyone's got their jabs and we are safe to hang out and go to shows and stuff. Would love to have you at our home away from home at Radical Road Brewery in Leslieville to chat more, to share a pint as well, or even have you over at one of my favorite Scarborough restaurants, China Cottage. At
I don't know that one. Where's that one at?
Pharmacy in Ellesmere.
Okay, all right.
Pharmacy, Hakka Chinese.
Okay, we like that stuff. We got a few that we go to. There's one called Chung Moi at Kennedy and Eglinton.
Yeah,
it's on the north. It's beside a gas station on the northwest corner. It's Hakka, and it's very, very good.
Yeah,
There's a guy on Kingston Road right now called the Art of Barbecue. He's his name's Trevor, and he smokes briskets and stuff every day and ribs.
Oh,
there's so many good restaurants in this area. It's incredible. Good Indian restaurants around.
Oh, there are a lot. Can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you so much
It's great being here.
For your time. It's been great. Greg, before we let you go, people want to buy the poster. They want to buy your CDs and books. Where's the best place for them to go?
Well, can you guys see that where it says Shop Greg Godovitz?
Yep.
That's where they go. www.shopgreggodovitz.com. And all of that stuff. What we even have that you might interest you guys, and I didn't bring a bottle of it out. I have my own hot sauce called In Goddo We Trust Cock On Sauce. And it's like a hot wing sauce.
Yeah.
And it's got the same picture for the label. We use this one, that Long John Baldry. Now, when people get these are numbered. We only printed 100 of them, and they're signed and numbered. So for both of these posters, but we got a whole bunch of other stuff coming up, like mugs, and these days you got to diversify.
Absolutely.
And I highly recommend that people check out the Paul Dean produced. Yes, I should have just done my head down. The Paul Dean produced album, because as Paul said, these are the best songs you've ever written. And he did a hell of a job producing. I mean, Loverboy sold 30 million records. I sold 0 million records. I'll defer to the expert. Greg, I was gonna wear my Blue Jays t-shirt tonight, man.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm a huge Blue Jays fan. I see that.
I know you are.
Kareem's got his Jays stuff over here.
Yeah, got the Jay stuff there. Got the Neil Young T-shirt.
I still have my season's opener tickets from last season on the fridge.
Yes, I have.
They were really good seats too. They were front row, right over home plate, man.
Wow. I have. Were those Getty Lee's tickets?
No, this was in the comfort zone right above. I could throw things down at Getty.
I actually took my son to Bautista's last game in the comfort zone. Nice. It was just father-son. In fact, Warren from Iron Gate got us the tickets for it. And it was a great send-off and a good father-son day out.
Oh, there's nothing like going to the ballpark, Yeah. I mean, I miss those $30 hot dogs, But we at home, we've got the same Baldwin Street hot dogs that they serve, the really good ones down there. and we'll watch a ball game on the television, and we have, like ballpark mustard, and, we have a beer. And I only charge Mrs. Claypool $25 for them, so I'm pretty good about
That's a deal.
that.
That's a deal.
It saves $5. It's been my pleasure to be here. It's amazing. It's amazing how time flies when some guy doesn't shut his mouth.
That's the way we love it. We love these stories. It has been a blast.
Yeah.
Let's do it when the next book comes out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
we'll do it at Radical Road over a couple of pints.
And for anybody that's still watching out there, if you haven't started snoring or your eyes haven't glazed over, I just want to thank you on behalf of the guy that's been in this business for 57 beautiful years for the continued support and understanding that even crazy old people can still play music.
Have an awesome birthday, Greg, this weekend.
Yes, happy birthday, sir.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for having me.
Bye.
I'm going to go have dinner and drink wine.